option, please type in your questions, and at the end of the presentation, we'll spend some time answering them for you. Okay, so as we go along, if there's questions, just type them on in. Mr. Kerrigan is here to assist with the technology component, so he'll be helping us in the end as well with that part and answering some questions. So please also know that this particular presentation will be recorded and will be available on our Mount Olive website. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. So George, if you wouldn't mind hitting the next slide. So tonight's presentation is really primarily for students and families who are interested in pursuing a four-year college plan immediately after high school. There are certainly many, many other options. Some students will go off to the military. Some students will go off to CCM, the county college, for 2 years perhaps. Some students will take what we call a gap year, where they may spend some time either doing some service for the community or doing some traveling or something that is beyond the college environment. So certainly there are other options, but the purpose of this presentation tonight is primarily on the four-year college route, and we'll be providing additional information, perhaps in the form of a video, in the upcoming weeks on those other options. So tonight we'll talk about the timeline in terms of the four-year college process, the different application types that are available, terms to know throughout the process, different responsibilities, who's responsible for what. And this is a really a shared responsibility between the student, between the parents, and between us school counselors. So there's particular responsibilities that each of us will have in this process, and we'll work together to get you what you need. After doing this for a few years, there's a few counselors on this presentation as well, where we've gathered some sort of helpful hints, so to speak. So we'll be presenting some of those as well for you to keep in mind throughout the process, and providing you with additional resources as well. George? So we're going to start with the timeline. So right now we're gearing up for the winter months. The fall is coming to an end, and there's certain things that are important for juniors to do at this time. So I just want to make note of some of those. Now's the time to have the conversations. If you haven't already started, now would be the time to start talking about what does life after high school look like for you as a junior or for your child. Does it involve a four-year college within New Jersey? Does it involve a four-year college out of New Jersey or even out of the country? Some students have pursued that as well. Now's the time to start having those conversations, what the expectations are within the family about what life will look like after high school. Now's the time to meet with the school counselor for individual meetings to discuss your plans. So beginning next week, counselors are going to be available to have individual meetings with juniors and their parents to talk about your individual plans. Okay, so tonight we're kind of giving an overview of the process, but we want to meet with you and we want to work with you in coming up with the best course of action for you to meet your particular goal. So beginning next week, we'll be meeting with our juniors and their parents. So please reach out to your student's guidance counselor or to your guidance counselor if you're a junior out there, and ask for an appointment. We will schedule an appointment doing Google Meet. They will be virtual, okay? So please reach out to us, let us know that you'd like to meet, and we'll set up a Google Meet. Okay, those appointments will take place during the day, and they'll be for approximately a half hour, just mentioning that for planning purposes, okay? Now's the time to explore Naviance. Naviance is a software program that students have been introduced to since their freshman year. Around this time, they may be thinking, oh, I forget my password and my username. That's okay. We can help you with that. Just reach out to your school counselor if you don't know what your username and your password is for Naviance. Naviance is a really great resource that we use throughout this entire process. and you're going to become very familiar with it between now and the time you graduate, because there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be asking you to do and using it for. One of the things that Naviance can be helpful with is helping you figure out perhaps a path that you want to go down in terms of a career. So there's a lot of great tools on there that'll help you sort of distinguish what your personal interests and skills and values are and how that might tie into a particular career. There's also college information, the different types of school programs that are available, as well as scholarship information. National scholarships are listed on the Naviance platform as well. We're going to have an opportunity in a few minutes to actually demonstrate for you what Naviance looks like and what the key features are. Okay, but I just want to mention it at this point to familiarize you with it. This is the time to create a well-rounded list. This is not the time to come up with your final list. You know, that might take some time and a little more information gathering, but this is the time to create a list. And you might have many, many schools on there, but you're going to whittle that down over time in a variety of ways. But we encourage you to come up with a list that has reach schools, schools that are considered a match, and schools that we consider likely schools that used to be called safety schools, but are now referred to as likely. Okay, reach schools, it may be that you don't quite meet the academic criteria, but you're interested in the school and it has the programs that you want, and you feel like that would be a really good fit for you and you would be a good fit for them. Apply to some of those. Apply to some of those. Apply to some match schools where you meet their academic criteria, and likely schools where you exceed their academic criteria, such as grade point average or standardized test scores. Visit interested schools if you can. And this is something that can continue on into the spring. Now, right now, things are a little unique, to say the least, right? So not many schools may be offering the opportunity to visit their campuses, but there are some that are. So make sure you look and see exactly what schools are offering visits. Many schools are doing virtual visits. We're hosting several of them, and we have throughout the year, where colleges have come to visit virtually and students have talked to them during that virtual visit. What you want to be able to do is show interest in the school, and that's just one way of going about it. But certainly if you visit, that's great, because what something looks like on campus or on paper might look very different and have a very different feel to it if you go and you actually visit the college campus. So if it's possible, and things may open up, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the spring? You know, they're talking about, you know, the vaccine and things of that nature. So who knows what it will look like in the springtime? But if you have the opportunity, visit. Okay, visit. A lot of families have expressed that they feel like this particular class may be at a disadvantage when it comes to the college process, but really, you may actually be in a better position at this point, because many families might be opting to go a different route, and that might open up some space in a college campus. So there may be more opportunity than you think to get into a school that, let's say, may be a reach, for example, or even a match, but there may be more opportunity than you think at this point, given the nature of the way things are. Okay, so don't rule anything out at this point. Okay, it would, I think, and we've talked about this amongst the other counselors too, you know, be a disadvantage in a sense if you can't visit, because you don't know really what you're getting into on the campus. If you don't, it's not necessarily a deal breaker for a lot of people, but if you can do it, visit. Okay, and if you can't, certainly the circumstances are kind of going to dictate that. But hopefully, again, in the spring, that'll be opened up more. Okay. Create a College Board account. So College Board is something that your junior, or you as a junior, may be familiar with, because you have needed to create an account if you took the PSAT at this point. If you did the PSAT last year, you have a College Board account. And it's a very useful resource. we are offering the PSAT here at the high school in January, as well as the SAT and the ACT. And it's a little bit different of a process in terms of registering for them. And we'll get to how to go about doing that. But it's important that you create your College Board account. When you get your PSAT scores back, you're going to get a printout of what areas you did well in and what areas could use a little bit more developing. And so it's going to provide you with that information and also the resource of Khan Academy that will tailor a program just for you in terms of how to develop those skills. So I want to mention that the importance of creating that College Board account if you haven't already. Again, if you've already taken the PSAT, you have a College Board account. And what you don't want to do is create more than one. Okay. So, okay. So again, somebody's mic is on. If you wouldn't mind muting, that would be great. And also I want to remind you at this point that we do have a chat session available after this presentation. So be sure to put your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end. Okay. George?
That's our table. The only thing I enjoyed was smoking the girls.
Mr. Kerrigan, are you able to mute the other participants?
Yes, 1 second.
Are you able to mute that, Mr. Kerrigan? It's iPhone 2. Okay.
Yep. Maybe not.
I never saw it.
Oh, got it. Here we go.
Got it? Okay, good.
Good.
Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so in the spring, you want to continue visiting if you can, continue discussing plans at home and with your school counselor. This is the time also that you'll ask teachers for letters of recommendation. Not all colleges are going to want letters of recommendations, but there are some that do. And in the event that you apply to any that do require it, it's important that you do this part of the process in the spring because it will enable the teachers to have time to actually write them. And I know some teachers who are particularly popular in being asked actually have to limit, like they have a cutoff of like 50 letters that they'll write. So first come, first serve. So you want to make sure that you ask your teachers, okay? Because it is a very time consuming and we want to give them time, all right? If you'd like to take an additional SAT or ACT, then springtime would be the time to register for that as well. George? And then in the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall of senior year, you're going to create your Common App account, which you may actually be able to do even before August, but you won't necessarily be able to complete the application itself until August, okay? So very often it may become available to you to start it with your basic information, but then in August, you'll have an opportunity to finish it. This is when you will have whittled down your list by now, okay? And you want to apply to 6 to 8 schools, again, of a match, reach, and likely range. We ask that you fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile at this time. October 1st is when you can fill out the FAFSA. That's a free application for student aid. And it's important that you fill that out even if you don't think that you're going to be eligible for a need-based. A lot of colleges, if they're going to be giving you merit scholarship, which is based on your grades and standardized test scores, they may want you to have filled out the FAFSA first. And then the CSS profile is also a financial aid sort of document that many private colleges and universities ask students to fill out as well. That's not always needed, but you may come across that. And this is the time to also follow up with the teachers regarding letters of recommendation to ensure that they were written. Mr. Kerrigan, there was a slide that had specific PSAT, SAT, and ACT information. We are offering the, I don't know if it's the next slide or the one prior, but if we missed it, but we are offering the SAT, the PSAT, and the ACT on our campus. The PSAT being in January, the ACT being in March, and the ACT also being in March as well. So students have the opportunity to register for these tests, and they're encouraged to do so, especially juniors. The PSAT is really appropriate for those who have completed geometry. You can still do it, but just know that your math score may not be reflective of all of your skills. And you'll want to, again, keep that in mind when you get your scores back if you have not completed geometry yet. This information is on our website. And it's helpful for you to visit our website on a regular basis because we have a lot of great information and resources, not only pertaining to the college process, but other things as well. Okay, George. Okay, so there are different types of applications that students will have the opportunity to complete. There's the common application, the coalition application, and then there's visiting the college website directly and applying that way. Our Naviance software program that students have a username and password for that's free, that they can use at home, has the ability to connect you with Common App, and I believe the coalition as well. Their websites are listed here. You may not be able to see them, but this presentation will be on our website and you can access them that way or through Naviance. Basically, the common application and the coalition is one application. They're just different companies, okay? But the same sort of concept. The coalition has a little bit more nuances to it in terms of the financial piece that is worth looking at. But the Common App and Coalition are two types of applications that you fill out that can go to multiple schools if those schools accept that type of application. Okay, so that's basically what that is in a nutshell. And then the college site, they have their own application. It doesn't give a student an advantage or a disadvantage to do one over the other, really, in terms of acceptance. Okay, George. So there are different types of terms to know, and this is something that we provide to students in the beginning of their senior year. We review with them and we meet with them, make sure they're on track with the process. We actually meet with our juniors a few times during the junior year, but then also, of course, in the beginning of senior year and throughout senior year as they go through this. But just want to familiarize you with some terms that you're going to come across. There's something called the SRAR. It's a self-report academic record. And what this is there are some schools, such as Rutgers, that will ask for the SRAR, where students apply and they basically give their grades on an honor system, essentially. And then what happens is if, let's say, that school, in this case Rutgers, accepts that student, at the end of the year, they'll ask for a final transcript. And providing there aren't huge discrepancies and whatnot, everything will be good to go. Okay, so you'll come across that, an SRAR. Rutgers, for example, doesn't even want a transcript in the beginning of the year. They'll only ask for a transcript at the end of the year if the student is accepted. Okay, so not only Rutgers, there are some other schools that use that as well, but you may want to kind of keep that in mind. It's the SRAR. College Board, I mentioned, this is where the student is going to sign up for the PSAT, SAT. There's the ACT, but that's a different company, okay? And the main difference between the two They've become quite more similar throughout the years, but the ACT has a science component to it. Okay. And, really, we're talking about these standardized tests, but a lot of schools throughout this pandemic are being very flexible with the requirement of a standardized test. So I just want to mention that. They still may want it for merit scholarship purposes, which is looking at the students' grades and SAT scores or ACT scores to determine if they'll give them money. But as far as admissions goes, a lot of schools right now are being very flexible with their standardized testing. So make sure you look and see what that school is requiring or asking for. And even before the pandemic, there are many colleges that have waived the standardized test as well. Okay, and there's hundreds of colleges throughout the country, mostly private schools, that don't even ask for the SAT or ACT. I mention that because not everybody's a good test taker. And, if that pertains to you, it just might be helpful for you to know that. Early action. Early action is when you apply on the early side, but it's not binding, meaning that you can apply early. You meet their early action deadline. Let's say it's October 15th. And that's it. You apply early and you find out if you got in earlier. Early decision is if you apply to that school early decision and they accept you, you must go. On some occasions, you might come across where the college will say, if the financial aid package doesn't come through for you and you can't afford it, then we'll let you out of this contract. Not all colleges do that, though. Some colleges will say, if you get accepted early decision, you have to come here. And it is a binding contract. So make sure you really want to go to that school and can afford it before you actually apply under early decision. An advantage of doing early decision or early action is that, again, it shows that demonstrated interest. And so that's what colleges want to see. They want to accept students that are going to go to that college. Okay. Then we have rolling admissions. That basically the student applies as time goes on and they accept students until their class is full. Okay, so it's rolling. Okay, and then regular decision. There's a deadline, let's say January 1st. You apply, you get it in by the regular decision date, and they let you know if you're accepted or not. Okay, it could take several weeks to a month or more to find out if you were actually accepted into the college, regardless of how you apply, whether it's early action, early decision, rolling, or regular. But students have until May 1st to tell a college whether or not they're going to go there. So you don't have to feel pressure to, say yes to the college that accepts you. You can wait until May 1st. Last year, they pushed that date further along because of everything going on with the pandemic. But historically, May 1st is the date that students commit to whatever college. Sometimes you might get a letter from the housing department that says, if you want to secure housing, you have to put a deposit down. And that might be due in March, but you're not yet sure if you want to commit. So then that's where you have to make a decision. Do we put a deposit down in our housing just in case we want to go there? Or do we know that we want to go to this other school and we won't bother? Okay, so sometimes it's like a little nudge to make the decision prior to May 1st, but just keep that in mind. There's something called defer. If you apply early action or early decision, they may defer you to the regular decision pool if you're not accepted under those particular criteria or types of applications. They might say, we're not going to accept you under early decision, but we'll consider you under regular decision with the rest of the candidates. Okay, so you may be deferred. There's something called a wait list. Don't be discouraged if you are receiving a letter that says you've been waitlisted. What that means is they've accepted their students, they filled their freshman class, but if other students decide not to come to this school, then there's a spot for you, essentially. Okay, so there's something called a wait list. That over the years has become more of a trend. That's become more of a trend. Gap year is when a student takes a year off and they may do some community service or may do some traveling. You know, they can ask themselves for a deferment of acceptance. They can say, yes, I'd like to come to your school, but I'd like to defer until the following fall. Okay, not to say that every school will accommodate that, but that is also something that could come up. Okay, so a gap year is basically taking a year off to do something that is going to help you develop as a person. Okay, George? So now we're going to shift gears into responsibilities. Okay, so this is a team approach. We have the student, we have the parents, and we have the school. And each of us has a very integral role in this process. We're going to start with the student. And you'll see a car on this slide. And that's because we want you to remember that we hope that the student is in the driver's seat in this process. Okay, we want the student to be in the driver's seat. The student has the responsibility of gathering information, of doing the research, of creating their lists. And again, Naviance is going to be a tool that is extremely helpful in this process. College Board can be as well. Visiting college campuses, visiting college websites. There's tons of things a student can do to gather information about a particular school or even a major, okay? The student is responsible for creating that College Board account that I've mentioned a couple times, which is the area that students need to go to register for the SAT and to also have that personalized tutorial through Khan Academy based on their PSAT scores. The student is responsible for the application, for actually applying, for filling it out, for writing the essay, which during their junior year in English class, teachers will help with. They are responsible for applying. It's important, and I can't stress this enough, that students keep themselves organized, because not every college is going to have the same deadline, and not every college is going to require the same number of letters of recommendation. So it's really important that the student keep themselves organized, and we can also help with that. We have Google Classrooms for every one of our grades, and juniors have a Google Classroom and they have a code. And we put information on there that's going to help them through this process. We have sample organizational tools, for example, during this process to help them. That's something that, you know, as they get closer to senior year, we put more of an emphasis on, but because that's when they're going to actually be applying, right? The end of the summer, beginning of the fall of their senior year. But know the deadlines also. It's really critical that the college sees that the student has that level of responsibility and does not miss deadlines. And with that, when you ask teachers for letters of recommendation, you may also ask your counselor for letters of recommendation, which is personally one of my favorite parts of this job, is writing those letters. But it takes time. And so we ask that you know the deadlines, because we need 10 days to process the materials. Okay. Very often it can be done in less than 10 days. But when we have, 85 seniors approximately requesting letters, going off to college. You can understand why we would need some time, to process things. Okay. So ask your teachers, ask your counselors, know your deadlines.
She
Okay.
can't know about those anymore, Dad.
Communicate with your counselor. You can either make appointments through the Google form or email them. Nicole, oh, there you go. I was going to say, Nicole, could you keep it on mute? Thank you. Keep your grades up. Okay. Colleges are going to be looking for trends. Now, if you're somebody who is a little bit slow of a start freshman year, that's okay. That happens. Okay. Your grade point average may not change all that much, maybe sophomore year, junior year, maybe it will. But regardless of that number, what colleges are going to see is a trend upward. So keep those grades up. Do as well as you can. Challenge yourself, but don't let it become a struggle. Break out of that comfort zone, challenge yourself, take on a higher level course, for example, in an area, if you're interested in it, to challenge yourself. But if it's a struggle where you're losing sleep and you can't do anything else with your life other than this class, then maybe revisit that. Okay. But know the difference between it being a challenge, which is a good thing, and a struggle, which may not be the healthiest choice. Okay. But keep your grades up. We have a lot of avenues of support for students. We have a math center. We have National Honor Science students and National Honor Society World Language and English and business students who will assist in providing some peer tutoring. So you're really encouraged to keep those grades up. Just do the best you can, especially, these are very difficult, unique times, and students are, thrust into this learning environment online, and, you're developing skills that you probably, didn't have prior to this in a way. But as much as you can, talk to your teachers during office hours and keep those grades up. Okay. Know each of your college's requirements. This is particularly important in terms of the processing of materials, because you don't want to request something be sent to a college if they don't want it. They don't want that. They don't like that. They want to see that you can follow directions. And it delays the process. So if we're, asked to send your letters of recommendation, we're asked to send your transcript, which contains all the classes that you've taken and the grades that you've earned and your absences, okay, and your grade point average. We're asked to do that when you apply in the fall, right? So if you put on there that you need 3 letters of recommendation, and then we go on Naviance and we're processing everything, and we say, wait, this college doesn't want a letter of recommendation. Then we have to reach out to you, let you know. We do that by email. Not everybody checks their email, but you should every day. It's a process, okay? And it delays the process if we have to then go back to you to ask you either for additional information or to clarify something. So really know each of your college's requirements, and every college is going to be different. Every college is going to be different. And so it goes back to keeping yourself organized, okay? So it's really super important. Know your deadlines, know your college requirements, okay? All right. George? As far as our responsibilities as your counselor, we come to work every day to help you. It's why we're here. I can say that we love what we do, and we're a well-oiled machine, but we need your help in terms of, providing us what you need in a timely manner. And then we can process your materials. We'll guide you through the search process. We'll help you kind of figure things out. We're here to counsel you and support you and guide you. And that's what we will do happily. Okay. And again, I want to mention, in case anybody missed it, we're having individual meetings next week, beginning next week, with juniors and their parents So reach out to your student's guidance counselor to set that up, and we'll do Google Meets beginning next week. We will process your transcript requests. There's a form, of course, that you'll use when the time comes in the fall. After you've applied, you're going to ask for a transcript to be sent. It's a form. You put your name, where it needs to go, when it's due, and what you need sent. But it's crucial that you have accurate information on there for the reasons that I mentioned already. Okay, it will delay the process if we have to come back to you, wait for your response. So just make sure that you are accurate in the information you provide on that transcript. And we will be, again, coming out to your, classes most likely in the spring, either virtual, hopefully in person, but if not virtually. And we're going to be walking you through the process in your senior year as well. So this is not the only time you're going to be hearing this information. But I want to emphasize, the importance of having that accurate information on the transcript request. Okay, and we will remind you of that. We will help you understand what the college is looking for in terms of requirements. Sometimes colleges will say, for example, they prefer to have a student who's had 4 years of math. Well, if they prefer something, do it. Give it to them. If they say letters of recommendation are optional, we'll send the letters of recommendation. Okay. If they say they don't want letters of recommendation, then we will not send the letters of recommendation, and you don't want to send them. You want to show them you can follow directions, and you don't want to inundate them with paperwork. Okay. All right. So we'll help you understand what they need, what they're looking for. You have questions, please, let us know. They will also want to know things like, what your schedule is senior year. They may not see your grades depending on when you apply your senior year, but they're going to want to see the list of classes that you're taking. You want to give considerable thought to your senior year schedule. You want to look at colleges and see what are they looking for, because like the math example, many schools may want you to have a 4th year of math. I had a couple of seniors this year who reached out to me and said, Ms. Kellum, I need to get into a math class because my college needs to have me be in 4 years of a class, a math class. So we had to kind of, readjust his schedule. But you want to be as aware as possible of some of the things like that. Same with world language. Most colleges are very fine with 2 years of a world language, the same world language. You only need 1 to graduate, but for 4-year colleges, most want 2 years of the same language. Some colleges that are more selective may want a 3rd or even a 4th year. So you want to look at those things. Okay, you want to look at those things. So give careful consideration to that, and we'll help you with that. We're going to meet with you in probably the next month or 2 or 3 about your schedule, like we do every year. And we're going to ask you what electives you want to take. And you're going to have a lot of room in your senior year schedule for a lot of electives. But think about what you want to do. If you have an area of interest or you have a curiosity about something, if you're curious about something and you want to maybe forensics, for example, you're like, that seems really interesting. I've seen a couple TV shows about it. I think I want to take a forensics class. Ask to take a forensics class. When else will you have that opportunity to really explore? Okay, so electives give you that opportunity. So give careful thought to that. Give careful thought to your levels as well. Okay, we're here to assist with your applications. Your application may ask for grade point average or school ranking. We don't rank by number. We give decile, like top 10%, top 20%, etc. But we'll assist you with that. You'll be asked how many kids in your graduating class. We can give you that information. So we will be very much communicating with you, and you will be communicating with us. Okay, and we'll help you through that. George? Additional responsibilities for the counselor. We're available for meetings as needed. Yes, we are starting these meetings next week, and we try to get them done, relatively, early, December, January, for example. But there may be a need in March or April or May for you to meet with us, and we will absolutely meet with you. So we are available to do that. Okay, it's a very personalized approach that we like to take. We're liaisons to teachers. Teachers will need to upload their letters onto Naviance. We assist them with that if they need it, if they have any questions at all about how to go about that. Or if, let's say, for our seniors now, for example, everything is so virtual, we will reach out to or we will go on Naviance and we will see, okay, did the teacher upload their letter? And then we'll let the student know, oh, no, they didn't, follow up with them. So we're kind of like a resource as far as that goes as well. We're a liaison to college admissions offices if necessary. If you had a change in, either your academics or in your extracurricular that was significant, and it could make a difference in terms of your acceptance, and you ask us to, we can absolutely reach out to a college rep and let them know, what that additional accomplishment was. We're here to answer any questions you have, and you're going to have some, and we're available for that. It's why, again, we're here to help you. It's what we do. It's our job, and we love it. So this is why we're here. To answer any questions you may have. You can email the questions, you can request a meeting, however you want to go about it, okay? We'll provide you with that school-related information that I mentioned a minute ago, the grade point average. A lot of the college applications will ask you for something called a state ID, your decile ranking, meaning are you in the top 10%, top 20%? Top 10% would be the first decile. Top 20% would be the second decile, and so on. Okay. We will process your first quarter grade and mid-year grades. Colleges will sometimes want that. We will counsel you on the early decision option. If you decide to go early decision, we will remind you of how important it is that you're sure about early decision. Some students are eligible for fee waivers. We will give a permission for that, approve that, and also provide them for you. Okay. George. And parent responsibilities. I mentioned, we hope that the student is in the driver's seat. The parent is in the passenger seat. We hope, right? And the counselors in the back seat were sort of the GPS in a way, kind of guiding you along. But the parent responsibility is also, it's a shared responsibility. We encourage you to ask us questions too. The financial aid piece, October 1st is when the FAFSA can be filled out. And the CCS profile, which many private institutions ask for, also a financial aid resource, that would be filled out as well if the college requires it. Okay, George? Okay, so here are some helpful hints. I mentioned earlier about the PSAT. The PSAT results will show what areas the student needs to work on and what areas are strengths. And there's a link to Khan Academy, which is a free service, which will provide a tailored tutorial for the student. SHMOOP is another resource that we have. It's with Mount Olive High School. In a following slide, there's directions provided, but it's a great resource as well to develop those skills for both advanced placement classes, but also for standardized tests. It may be helpful in this process to stay organized, to create an email that's simply for the college process. Okay. And kids aren't, high school students aren't as used to using emails like maybe we are, but get used to using emails if you aren't, because the colleges are going to communicate with you that way. And it just may be helpful for you to create an email account that's strictly for college, that's very professional sounding. You don't want to use the Mount Olive email address, because once you graduate, you won't have access to it anymore. So you want to make sure that you create your own, a professional sounding one. Okay. I've seen some that were from when kids were like little, and they're cute and all, but this is going to be the first impression a college has of you. So you want to try to make it a little bit professional. Okay. Maybe just your name, year of birth or something, something just neutral. When visiting colleges, and again, I'm optimistic that you'll be able to, hopefully, things will work out with the vaccine and we'll be back to our usual lives. But if you do visit, eat in the cafeteria, pick up the school newspaper, see what issues are going on around campus or around town. Talk to other kids outside of admissions, outside of the tour. Okay. Get a real feel for the campus. Okay. They're looking to see if you're a good fit for them, but you want to make sure they're a good fit for you too. Watch your social media. Okay. Watch your social media. That can, not that you as a student may put something on there that's inappropriate, but maybe your friends might, and you just want to be really super careful with that. Okay. That has a way of kind of showing up down the line, perhaps. You don't want to put yourself in a position where somebody from the college sees something that maybe wouldn't make a good impression. Okay. Consider joining LinkedIn. LinkedIn has some really great groups. It's a more professional social media site. You may be able to connect with alumni from colleges that you're interested in. Again, it shows a demonstrated interest, right? And that's what colleges want to see. And, as mentioned earlier, carefully consider your senior year courses. Okay. George? So there are many, many resources throughout this process. Certainly, as mentioned, school counselors were here to help you. There's Google Classroom information. Join the Google Classroom and check out what we have on there. Parents I don't think have like a login for that, but kids do, and kids can show you what's on there. When school's back up and running, we will be hosting mini college fairs, most likely. Right now, we're doing virtual visits. Virtual visits have been occurring. We did adjust the time of the virtual visits. Originally, they were going to be at like lunchtime, but now they are at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 1:30 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And we put out that information in the Google Classrooms and on our website to let people know what colleges are coming. But they are they're available to students, to learn about the particular school. And again, it shows interest. Individualized admission meetings. Sometimes they'll, work out an arrangement with a student to do like a little interview of sorts. Professional meet and greets. Once we're back up and running, I anticipate this will be as well, but we've brought in professionals from different venues, different sectors of the world. We brought in, carpenters, for example, somebody who works in gaming design, somebody who was a forensic psychologist, different professionals to meet with kids to help them understand what the profession is about. Naviance, one-stop shopping. Okay, I've mentioned it a few times because of its importance in this process, but that's where you can do a college search, create a list, look up scholarships, take career interest inventories. There's a lot of wonderful resources in that. George? Okay, so this is a little bit of a Naviance tutorial. It's about 9 minutes long, but just to kind of give you a picture of what you can expect on Naviance. Okay, so George, if you want to just start that video.
Hi, juniors. This is Mrs. Prisco, one of the guidance counselors from the high school. We, as a guidance department, wanted to create a couple short videos for you as you're moving along in your college and post-secondary planning. We understand that things look a little bit different right now. You can't go on college tours, physical college tours. The SATs and ACTs have been canceled or postponed. So we're hoping that these videos help you navigate through the process a little bit easier while we're home. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few important things you need to know on your Naviance homepage. Okay, so first off, most of you may have a list of schools that you're considering applying to or that you're fairly confident you will be applying to. So if you're a student who is thinking, oh, maybe I'm not there yet, I'm not really sure, I still need to do some research, I would suggest starting at this colleges tab here. Go to Find Your Fit and start by completing the super match. So the super match has all of these different categories up top that you can pretty much customize what you're looking for in a school. I will do a quick example with you. For location, I know that I want to stay in New Jersey. So I'm going to select New Jersey. You can also select different states by region, really whatever area you think you want, you can type in or select. Degree type, I know that I'm looking to go right to a four-year school, so I'm going to select bachelor's degree. And I know that I am interested in the business field. I'm just going to click business and it'll show up pretty much with many different majors. And that's okay. If you have, if you're more specific of what type of business you want, then you can check that off as well. So these are the schools that pop up in New Jersey based off of the two criteria that I put in, location and major. So if you see a school that you wanted to look further into, we recommend that you go right to their admissions page for more specific information. And then maybe for now, do a virtual tour, connect with their admissions counselors for further information. Another good feature to look at would be the scattergrams. So this is information from Mount Olive students for the past 9 to 10 years. And these are all the colleges that they have applied to. And we've been able to see where, who's been accepted, who's been denied, how many students have been accepted or denied. So for example, I'll show you Rutgers. And Rutgers, this will plot you, okay, on a graph. Okay. So over here, you see the green check marks, the red X's, there's some blue, red, and green circles. This is the legend, okay? So it does not have me posted on this graph because I did not give myself a GPA or SAT or ACT score or PSAT score, but you'll be able to see, it'll be able to plot you on a graph and you can kind of see where you fall. And again, this is just based off of Mount Olive High School students. So to get the most accurate information as far as average GPA acceptance and average standardized test score acceptance, you always want to go to the college's admissions page directly. Okay. Now, say you are unsure what kind of career you want to do or what your interests are. If you go to the About Me tab here, you can go to My Assessments and you can complete any of these inventories. These will help select a career for you based off of your personality, your strengths. It'll give you information on that career, which colleges have that major, what kind of skills go into those careers, salary per state. There's a lot of information. So if you're kind of at that starting point where you're not sure, you know you want to go off to a four-year school, but you're not really sure what direction you want to go into, this would be a good place to start as well. Now that I'm also on the About Me tab here, if you haven't already created a resume, Naviance has that feature on here that you can build your own resume. For college applications, usually at the end, there's a part where you can upload a resume. So if you haven't created one and think that would be something good to have, we would recommend that you do have a resume. This would format it here. It would format it and create one for you. Okay. I'm going to go back to the home page and also show you on the bottom of your home page all of the helpful links that'll help guide you next year and this year for the high school, for the college planning process. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see all these links. We have the link to our high school website, which we always post updated information. There's the common application and the coalition application. These are applications that many schools accept. So basically you would create a login and answer the general information for the application, and then you would send that one application out to all your schools that accept either the common application or the coalition application. Now, each college may have different essay questions or supplemental questions, but the main application as well as the main essay are the same. So for the common application, we know that those 7 or 8 essay prompts are the same for next year as well. So in your English classes, you can start working on your essay. I know that most of you are already. You can pick an essay prompt for the common application, and then you can use that for next year as well. All right, and there's an open house link. So once schools will be up and running again with tours, you can click on that link. There's financial aid information here. The SAT and ACT dates, these will be updated as you move into your senior year. And down here as well are helpful college application guidelines and scholarship information. So we post different links on here that you can create accounts, and you can either search different scholarships, or scholarships will be emailed to you based off of your profile. On Naviance as well, there are also scholarships. If you go to the colleges tab, scroll down to scholarships and money, you'll be able to see a whole list of scholarships that are posted and updated on your account as well. Okay, and just to note, we have a Google Classroom designed specifically for juniors, and there's a lot of information on there regarding college planning, career planning, post-secondary planning, how to get organized. All the important forms are on there. So we did email our code out, but we will make sure that each of you are on our Google Classroom so you can get those updates. Okay, and if you do not know your login information for Naviance, please try to use your MOTSD email as your username, and then a password you would have created. Okay, but if you forget it, just please email your guidance counselor and we will make sure you are logged in. Okay, and that is about it for Naviance. If you have any questions, please email your guidance counselor. Okay, take care, everybody.
Why are you in here?
Okay, so this is the Google Classroom code, other avenues of gathering information about what's happening in guidance. related to the college search, but also other things as well that come up, other announcements. Follow us on Twitter, and certainly our website offers you a tremendous amount of information as well. Okay, this PowerPoint presentation will be, it has been recorded and will be on our website for you to refer back to as needed. SHMOOP is the instructions, and as mentioned earlier, this is a great resource as well to develop skills for AP exams, but also for standardized testing. And there's a lot of other great information that you can access using this resource. And there's terms to know. The link is a little dark here, but those terms to know, we had created a video back in the spring. When you open it up, if you choose to look at it, I did go over the terms tonight, but this is a video recording of the information as well. And you might notice that it's for the current senior class. But the information itself is relevant to our juniors. So we felt it was, appropriate for us to include as a video archive. If you just want a quick, description of the terms, there's a video of that as well. Okay, so again, in closing, want to remind you that we are having individual meetings with our juniors and their parents beginning the week of December 7th, and to schedule an appointment to meet with your child and your child's school counselor. The student should be present as well. We're meeting during the day. So we encourage you to reach out, email us. It would be helpful in the subject line for you to put, something to the effect of junior parent meeting or college planning meeting or something of that nature, so that it alerts us to the nature of the request. And we'll be sure to send you an invitation, a Google Meet, where we can have a half-hour conversation approximately, give or take. If we need more time, we'll have more time, or we'll set up a second appointment. But we encourage you to do that so that we can work together on making sure that you're squared away for next year and the year that follows. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the chat and see if any questions came up. I know that I saw a couple pop up there.
All right, the first question was, what is CSS?
So CSS Pro, go ahead, George.
Oh no, go ahead. A couple people answered in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the CSS profile essentially is another financial aid questionnaire that a lot of private schools require students complete or families complete. So it's just another type of information that they're looking for financial purposes. And also just to mention about the FAFSA, again, October 1st is now when students can apply for financial aid, families can apply. The FAFSA is a free application for student aid, and it will tell you whether or not you're eligible for any kind of loans or grants. Grants you don't need to pay back.
The next question is, will Mount Olive offer the SAT subject test on campus?
That's a great question. And for those of you that may not be aware, the SAT is critical reading and math, right? But for more selective schools, they require something called a subject test. And that could be in another area of math. It could be in history, for example. As of right now, I don't know that we have any plans to offer the subject test here at the school, but it's early in the year. And certainly our testing coordinator can clarify that for us. Her name is Laura Cassidy. And so, we can certainly, if you want to reach out directly to your school counselor about that, or to Laura Cassidy at the guidance office, we can get you that answer. But right now, there's no plan for a subject test.
Next one is, are you able to assist with overseas applications?
Yes. Mhm. It'll be a little bit of a learning process for all of us, but absolutely we can assist with that. I know a couple of us have had students apply to schools in Canada, for example. I had a student who was interested in going to college in Spain. I've had a student apply to a school in England. So we're familiar with, that in a sense. The process looks different for overseas, just so you know. So deadlines will be different, requirements will certainly be different, but we will absolutely do everything we can to assist you in that process.
Will there be other SAT dates that the students can take this year other than the March date?
Well, the College Board certainly offers other opportunities, and local schools typically provide that service. So for example, we've had students take the SAT over in Roxbury or over at West Morris, for example. Whether or not Mount Olive offers another test, there's nothing right now that suggests that there will be another date for the SAT on our school grounds. But again, Laura Cassidy, our testing coordinator, may be able to clarify that for us moving forward.
The next question, kind of similar answer, I think. How would they take a subject test then if it is not offered?
Well, through College Board. You would register through the College Board. Yeah, yeah. This is really like the first time that Mount Olive in the past year or two where we're offering the SAT on our site, which is great that we're going in that direction to be able to provide that level of service for our kids. But if a subject test could be taken, and another additional test can be taken by registering through the College Board, and you may just end up taking it, like I said, like at West Morris or Roxbury, if they're offering them.
Next one, it says College Board website doesn't have an ACT test date in March, but MOHS is conducting one in March. So
Yes,
how
because
does it differ?
okay. So the ACT is a completely different company. ACT.org. It's a different testing company. And colleges will accept either one, really. ACT tends to be more popular in the South and in the West. And College Board SAT tends to be more popular in the East and the Northeast. And really what it comes down to is the location of the testing company, really. But colleges will accept either one if they're looking for a standardized test. So if you're interested in the ACT, you have to go on to the ACT.org website and register through that. Or you take it here and your child takes it here at Mount Olive, in March. And you register by January 8th on our website.
That was another question. When is the registration deadline for the SAT test in March? So January 8th, like Ms. Kellum just said.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of that information is on our website as well. And there's a PowerPoint slide that'll bring you directly to the link for both the PSAT, the ACT, and the SAT that we're offering.
Not every school has the same high level of COVID rules as we do, so it would be helpful if we can do another date here. So we could definitely bring that up maybe to Mrs. Cassidy or administration and put that bug in their ear. But as of now, like Ms. Collins said, there's only one of each for now, but we could definitely bring that up. Then we did. Do you know how or when we can get the SAT and ACT checks in?
Yes, that information is on our website. Mr. Carrigan, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's on the website. I think there's a date where you could bring it in. Let me look here. This payment will be collected in the Commons as of now between 11:45 a.m. to 12:20 p.m. starting December 14th through the 22nd. And then if outside of that, you'd have to go make accommodations with Ms. Cassidy or someone else in guidance. Next question. Outside of Khan Academy, will MOHS have an SAT prep class?
Potentially. We've offered the SAT prep class in the past, but right now, it's not being, there's not one offered. There wasn't enough enrollment. It's enrollment based for us to offer an actual class during the school day. And to wait until senior year, maybe too late to do that, because we hope that kids will have their SATs all done or ACT all done before they come back in the fall, ideally. But sometimes the community school, the rec department in the town offers some type of SAT prep courses. There's also homework helpers in Long Valley some of our kids have used. You know, there's different resources in the community like that. But I want to mention again, a lot of colleges are being very flexible with the SAT and the ACT for this particular class. You know, we anticipate that there'll be some flexibility on the college requirement part.
What is considered a state ID?
So a state ID is a number that's given to every student in a public school. And so when the student, if they transfer from one school to another, that number sort of follows them. It's a way, I guess, to kind of keep track of the kids in schools. So there's a state ID number that's located in the student portal that we can provide. I believe it appears on the transcript as well. It had in the past when we had Power School. I think it may again with real time. I'm not sure, but we can provide that to you because sometimes colleges will ask for that state ID.
Next question, can we mail in the checks instead for the SAT, I assume, or ACT?
I would check with Miss Cassidy on that. You know, she's the testing coordinator. She'll be able to direct you. I don't see why not, but just double check with her if there's a particular concern about bringing it in and dropping it off. I'm sure she'll work with you.
How do scholarships associated with the PSAT and SAT work?
Well, juniors who take the PSAT, if they score high enough, they may be eligible for a National Merit Scholarship through the College Board PSAT, okay? Like 1% of 3 million juniors in the nation are actually eligible for that particular scholarship. It's, you know, very, very, very selective. The other question was how do SAT scores relate to scholarship?
Mhm.
So sometimes colleges will offer merit scholarship money. They'll look at a standardized test and the grade point average of the student. And based on that, they may offer money. They may say, oh, we want the student to come here. Let's provide them with a merit scholarship of, let's say, $10,000 a year. And so that's where the scores may come into play with scholarship.
I think the next, it was kind of like a comment during school hours and we are not in school. I think that's about the SATs and coming in to get the money in. So I think the payment process was posted when we were back in session, sort of. So I would imagine if we're all virtual still during that week of the 14th, there'll be another announcement about how they're going to handle payment. So just be on the lookout for an updated announcement if we're kept virtual. All right, next question. If the PSAT was taken sophomore year, should it be taken again in January before taking SAT courses or the SAT in March? Mrs. Callum?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
So yes, you can take the PSAT as a junior, even if you took it as a sophomore, and you could still take the SAT in March. Mhm.
And this one, when will student parents meet with the counselor? So you can meet whenever. Next week, is like a designated time when we meet with juniors and parents to go over college planning and stuff like that. So if you wanted to just email your counselor individually and they'll set up an appointment with you for next week. If you can't make it next week for whatever reason, if you have work or something else going on, you could always set up an appointment outside of that week with your counselor and go over things. How can the fee for taking the SAT be waived?
I would say start with your school counselor on that. Start with your school counselor on that. Sometimes if a student is meets the criteria for, let's say, free reduced lunch, for example, they may be eligible for a waiver for taking the tests. But even if not, if there's a financial hardship, I would just have that conversation with your school counselor and see what we can do to support you on that.
Any more questions, anybody? I think that was the last one on the chat that I see. Like Ms. Kellum said too, if you have like a more individualized question about your particular student and your situation that you'd rather not ask in front of a group, that's a great opportunity to ask that with your counselor in an individual meeting. That's why you don't have to broadcast your particular situation to everybody. So definitely set up an appointment with us. More questions. The National Merit Scholarship states that a junior must take the SAT in October of the junior year. Does that still apply?
The College Board, they changed the date for the PSAT. So I would imagine that the PSAT in January is related to the scholarship, the merit scholarship. I think that's a good question, but I think that because the College Board bumped the timing of the PSAT, I think that whoever takes it in January will be considered. We can certainly find out, we can, confirm that with Laura Cassidy, our testing coordinator. But that's my understanding. Because College Board moved the date, they would still be eligible for consideration in January.
Hi, actually, my question was like the ACT what MOHS is giving in March, that testing is not in College Board. So that testing date is not there. So we can send that score, right?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, actually, there is no ACT date in March.
ACT or SAT?
ACT.
Right, ACT is a different company.
Yes.
So you're not going to see it on College Board.
Yeah, ACT.org.
Yeah, but even if I see in ACT.org, there is no ACT dates in March.
Okay.
The school-based one is different than the national dates that they post. Only dates the College Board or the ACT post on their websites are the national ones that are given on a Saturday at different schools. School day one is sponsored by like individual high schools as an additional date.
Okay.
So those definitely still count. Like you could still send those into colleges and they still count towards.
So we can send that score to colleges, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Okay.
It's just a more convenient opportunity to take it like in Mount Olive rather than on a Saturday.
But it is without essay, it says. Without essay, right?
Yeah, no essay. The ones in the school day don't offer the essay.
Okay.
But
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no problem. Good question. Anybody else? Any questions? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you everybody for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Some colleges require an essay, but that's up to each college and your major. But if it's without an essay, you could definitely still send the other scores to the college.
question?
Yeah, do you know how many students take advantage of the STARS program at CCM? I
We keep a record of how many, I mean, we know like which students go to CCM but I don't know that we've ever looked at that data of how many actually take advantage of the STARS program. I don't know if we have that information. I don't know if our office collects that data.
know I have like anecdotally like a couple kids ask about it every year, but yeah, I don't know how many kids like actually like follow through with it.
If you email us, we'll look into it and see if we collect that data. I don't know that we do. Are there any other questions? Okay.
All right, so good. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We appreciate it. If you like Ms. Collins said, if you have another question, definitely email your counselor and we could definitely help you out. That's what we're here for.